When the letter arrived, I thought it was a mistake, or a prank, or at worst, another scam targeting the tired and trusting. But it changed my entire life. I came home from work covered in dust, exhausted, with an aching back and legs that barely moved. My courier bag was still lying by the door. I took off my jacket, put the kettle on, and then noticed the envelope, my address, my name. You have been named the sole heir in the will of Mr. M. I reread that line at least 10 times, and still couldn't understand what was happening. I reread the amount 3 times, then again. Then I sat down, because my mind refused to believe it. Several $1 million. The room smelled like instant noodles. On the table, an empty cup from yesterday's tea. I was just a guy with no savings, overdue utility bills, reading that someone had left me millions. I didn't know any Mr. M. Didn't know anyone who could leave me even 1,000. It felt like a movie plot, but I knew miracles didn't happen in my life. I'd told myself that 1,000 times. So why, damn it, was my name in that letter? I checked the return address, the postmark. Everything looked official. Too official. I searched the notary's name. The website was real. That's when I first felt something strange rise inside me. Not hope. No. More like panic. Like someone had made a mistake, and any moment now they'd fix it. I called anyway. The voice on the other end was calm and professional. Yes, this is Mr. L. We've been expecting you. You are the sole heir. But this must be a mistake, I mumbled. I didn't know this person. He knew you, came the reply. And he named you in his will. All documents are ready. We can send copies. I hung up, slowly lowered the phone to the table. My head was buzzing. He knew me? But who was he? I set the phone aside, not knowing, not understanding, if I should feel joy or fear. It was all confirmed. The letter was real. The will. Authentic. I opened the envelope again, this time carefully, heart pounding. Inside, alongside the main letter, there was a second page. You were named as the author of the original journal that inspired the novel, You're Already There, which became an international bestseller. Mr. M believed it was only fair to pass on everything he earned from that story. The more I read, the clearer everything became. Memory, like film, began to unspool, slowly at first, in fragments, then faster. I remembered who I used to be. Just a regular guy from the provinces. Average looks, no connections, no money. A student with hope in his eyes and a heavy backpack on his shoulders. I arrived in the big city with a suitcase that held everything, except confidence that I'd make it. I could talk easily, but never quite fit in. Most of my classmates lived on a different level. Trips, clubs, movies. I smiled at them, joked during lectures, but outside the university, I vanished. My money barely covered a single coffee in the student cafe. Not even every day. There was a girl I liked. Her smile looked like it came from within. Smart, kind, warm. I tried to get closer, start a conversation, but I couldn't invite her anywhere. I knew I couldn't afford it. Then she started dating someone else, a guy I thought was almost a friend. I said nothing, just faded into the background. Almost everyone left for the summer. I stayed. Worked as a courier, delivering packages across streets that never felt like mine. My parents said, you just have to graduate, get your degree, then a job, a salary, a life. But I was studying something I hadn't chosen. I tried hard. For them. For that idea of a future. At night, I came home exhausted. To keep from going insane with loneliness, I watched videos on YouTube and TikTok. Back then, it was trendy to say we create our own reality. that thoughts become things, that anything's possible if you visualize it right. Confident, successful people on terraces with ocean views insisted, keep a journal, write your desires as if they've already come true, and the universe will respond. I wanted to believe that. I thought if I did everything right, I could escape. Start living a real life. Traveling, discovering the world, having adventures. I dreamed it could all be real. So I bought a notebook. Every evening after my shift, I opened it and wrote. Not about my day, but about the day I wished I had, as if it had already happened. I'm watching the sunset from a rooftop in Barcelona. The streets below buzz, and I'm sipping orange juice, smiling for no reason. Today, I got lost in Tokyo, but stumbled into an old district where a man in a kimono invited me to a tea ceremony. At first, it felt like a game. But then, it became almost a necessity. My way of staying afloat. My way of believing I deserved more. That miracles were possible. And I wrote. Every day. I graduated, but never found a decent job in my field. The best I could do was stay a courier, now full-time. I rented a room on the edge of the city with another guy who also delivered packages. We barely spoke. Just came home in silence, ate, and collapsed onto our beds from exhaustion. Life wasn't easy. Money barely kept me afloat. I worked for pennies, grabbed every extra hour I could. There was no other way. Sometimes I felt like I didn't exist anymore. Just moved through the city with a backpack, feeling neither time nor purpose. I burned out. Completely. Not a single spark left inside. The dreams that had once felt almost real started to seem ridiculous. Distant. Silly. One evening, I sat on a park bench. It was quiet. Cool. I opened my journal. Wrote one last entry. Something about flying over the Amazon in a helicopter, rescuing rare birds, and suddenly laughed. Loudly, nervously. I was laughing at myself, at my naivety, at how I'd believed it all worked, that the universe would answer, that all I had to do was write down my dreams, and they'd come true. I closed the journal, left it on the bench, and walked away. Never looked back. And now it lay before me again. Returned, rewritten, turned into something more. A story someone had been inspired by. Maybe miracles do exist? I stood up, picked up the letter, reread the numbers and the name. I didn't have a plan. But for the first time in years, I had a reason to wake up tomorrow. Have you ever written in a journal about something you were too afraid to even dream of?